So Erika and Jesse are accompanying me to the Big Four ice caves today. It's a pretty cool location. These old glacial melts that never fully melt every year. They stay there, so the snow caps stay there. Little creeks flow underneath them, and it makes these caves in the summer that everybody goes into. You're not supposed to because they cave in from time to time and kill people, but it happens. We're going in, I'm sure, because we're like that. I think we're talking about today grounding in particular, and how that's effectively the same thing as self-love. Keep coming back to love and self-love. It seems so deep and so rich, affects everything. Everything comes back to love, it seems like. And then how those two things together morph into our ascension process. And why are we doing that? What's it mean and everything? So further, deeper conversations of these things should be fun. So what's that thing you were saying earlier? It was pretty cool. The grounding thing, that whole analogy.
Well, I think as we're having so much spiritual growth, we're focusing on the ascension process, but it's also really important to stay grounded at the same time. And I think if people think that might contradict, like, we're ascending, so are we also grounding? And I think it's important to stay grounded, and a good analogy of that is thinking of a rose plant. The most beautiful part of a rose is its petals, but it also has its stem and its thorns, which can resemble things, but the only way for it to be healthy and to grow is to be really well grounded and rooted into the earth at the same time.
I like that. I haven't thought of a rose that way before.
Yeah, so...
That's pretty good. So how does the grounding equate to self-love? Like, what's the relation there?
Well, I think if we're thinking about self-love, we have to build like a really solid foundation within ourselves, and that also can relate to like our glass being full, that same analogy, but making sure we're staying grounded within ourselves, so then we have more love to offer the people that we care about. But unless we're rooted and grounded, if we're all over the place, loosey-goosey, and we're just kind of bouncing around, our vibration is kind of all over the place. So we want to make sure we're grounded, so then the people around us are getting, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like...
just radiating our energy out in a high vibrational way. Like
radiating
that.
our true essence.
Our true essence, that's
Yeah.
the word, like the rose. So
Yeah.
the rose grows by being grounded, and it's not really, when it's not till it's in full bloom, can it radiate its essence.
Yeah, and I think during that journey, it's really important to trust the process and allow it to be a process, and allowing it to take its course, take its time, and like that analogy of maybe pruning the rose too soon, it's not going to blossom, right?
So if you're going to cut the rose to put it in a vase, you wait till it's mature enough and ready to share its essence.
Yeah, so
before.
just being mindful and taking time to like meditate and do those things to make sure we are grounded. And just because we understand something doesn't mean that it's solid yet. Giving it time to really root before ascending too quickly. It's important to trust the timing and be mindful. And if you think about it, any true yogi master or anyone in this journey, it's never just something you learn really quickly. It's a process. It takes time and a lot of consistency doing the things like meditating and pranayama, all those kind of practices. It's nothing that you just do a couple times and then you're ready. It's years and years and years of doing these kind of practices. To truly ascend, it's a long process.
And it's interesting because I do that to a fault, like what you said a second ago, where you got to give the process a time so that the rose can come to its full essence and radiate that. Mm-hmm. Once I understand that that's what the process is, I like to then say, oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
But then the process needs to run its course. So then I put impatient like expectations, because I'm like, okay, I get it, but it's got to do its thing. So I try to like hurry to the finish line of that particular process sometimes. And
there really isn't a finish line.
There isn't.
If you think about enlightenment, it is a forever growing process. It's something that we're always learning. You don't just get there one day. It's continuing the enlightenment. And it's the same if you tie that into unconditional love. I think the vibration of unconditional love and the vibration of enlightenment are kind of go hand in hand. And unconditional love isn't easy. It's something that you're practicing, and kind of like what you talked about with Laura in the last video.
Yeah.
It's not all rainbows and unicorns when it comes to love.
That's what she said exactly. You listened.
That video
That
really
one does a good one, yeah.
resonated
Me
with
too.
me. But yeah, I think it's all a practice, and loving someone with all their shadows and all the darkness and stuff. It takes compassion, and compassion also, like you talked about, can be a little bit tiring. It's not tiring from the heart, but it's tiring physically. I think that was a really good point that you guys made last time. But loving someone unconditionally, you know, it's a beautiful journey, but it also has a lot of shadow work. And finding someone that you're doing that shadow work with, so then you're feeling a lot of love at the same time as healing each other, I think is a beautiful experience to be had.
So many things there.
Yeah, I know, I'm like touching on all these things,
let's
but
do
there's
this.
so much.
Let's go up there and finish that in a minute. And let's do that grounding technique in a little while. We'll catch some of that on camera.
Okay.
All right. He's doing the bumblebee thing.
I'm gonna try to take a picture of him.
Here's another one right here. So the grounding is effectively self-love, right? That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
To this point of this conversation, right?
Yeah,
or am I
that's
just summing it?
the grounding is, if you think about it, is like the foundation. You need the grounding within yourself to start growing and ascending.
Let's go up the steep one.
Okay.
Okay, so we're grounding ourselves is a component of self-love. How about that? So,
Okay.
does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're grounding. So grounding techniques, all the different things we can do to ground, which we're going to do in a minute up here, right?
Yeah.
Whoa, almost died right there. So the analogy of the rose, back to draw from that a little bit, can we? Is the root is deep. So the better we're grounded, the more we can draw from earth, like water and nutrients and whatnot, to fuel our ascension.
Yeah.
And
if you think about it in more parts of the rose, I think the thorns kind of resemble like our personality and our challenges, and kind of resembling the challenges of life. And as we grow, those thorns come out as like a protectant, and those are the walls that we start putting up around our hearts.
the thorns are.
The thorns are the walls around our hearts, in my eyes.
I dig that.
Yeah.
I've never thought of any of this. This is great.
And those walls come up from our past experiences, and those experiences, those walls grow harder to protect us. But we want to put those walls down, because then think about how many experiences of love that we're missing from those walls being up. And there's love all around us. There's an abundance of love.
Or learn how to use them to be aware of, I guess, people are, you want to avoid situations.
Yeah, because there are things there's two things. They're walls, but they're also protectant for things that are going to take us off our path and take us and lower our vibration.
Yes, but
So
those,
the walls are
those
dual purpose.
protectants can be good for us in a sense to learn from it.
Yeah.
And also like just gauging the right people to put those walls down around, but being open
Absolutely.
to putting them down, because think of all the beauty that comes from the love experience.
So ultimately,
agree.
the walls are, as far as that part of the analogy, the walls are preventing us from ascending more.
They can be, yeah.
They can.
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah. If you keep those walls up the rest of your life, you get comfortable, you stay stagnant, you're not growing.
So if we're stronger, our foundation's stronger, we've got more self-love, we're pulling more nutrients into ourselves from the grounding, and then we're more protected, so then we can be more vulnerable because we're stronger and we don't need the protective walls. Mm-hmm. Is that it? Did I just...
I think you
I think
kinda
I nailed it. All right.
yeah.
You! All right.
The waterfalls
So we
come
made
down.
it to the top of the knoll here at the ice caves basin, I guess you call this. It's kind of the destination.
It looks so different than it did. We were here probably like 5 years ago, and the ice caves are much smaller. Obviously, it's extra smoky, but that's beside the point.
kinda cool.
But everything's changing.
Last time we were on this
Crazy.
rock, Megan and Julie were here with us. That was pretty cool. That's the last time I was here.
Yeah,
That was a good day.
that was fun.
So, unconditional love, you were saying? I want to talk
think-
about that more.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about unconditional love stuff, but at least what I'm experiencing right now, I feel that I feel pretty lucky to have people in my life. It doesn't have to be specifically a partner. It can be your friends and things too that are helping you throughout this journey of unconditional love. But I think always asking yourself, am I experiencing love right now? Even if times are hard, even if you're going through a struggle, the universe has its way of teaching us things in all sorts of ways that come to you if you're open to it.
Say that again, the universe guides you?
It guides us. It sends us little secret messages, but only if you're open to it. If you're in a negative mindset, why is this happening to me? Why? You're just continuing this negative cycle, but we can transform that energy. We can think of it in a more positive light, and people are here to help us grow, and that is the journey. It's not all rainbows and butterflies, and you know, we don't tend to live the like white picket fence life by any means, but if we're experiencing love and we have people in our lives that are helping us grow, I think a lot of people are fearful of the growth because we get comfortable. But I think growth that's the uncomfort is where the most lessons and the most beauty happens, is in all the challenges that we face, and having people by your side or a partner by your side that is healing to you, guiding you through the growth and challenging you. It's not, if they're not challenging you, then what's the point, I guess?
Yeah.
That's interesting. You touched on like 10 things there.
I know.
So, okay,
My mind
no,
does
it's
that.
funny. It's cool. Okay, so the partner thing and the support thing, like the universe brings you support from multiple places. So to be aware of that, like expanding our awareness is part of the ascension thing. So as our awareness gets expanded more and more, then we see more and more of the things that are coming to us, and you're just in a receiving mode all the time. And I'm finding that exponentially happening in my life. In the last like 3 months in particular, I'm noticing it more and more because I'm learning it, so I'm doing it more, and it's not like that as hard as it was because now I understand it. So I'm just continually in awe all day long at the synchronicities that land in my lap and the opportunities, and I'm literally just receiving them all the time. I'm not reaching out to get anything or pushing my energy into anyone or anything. It just all comes, and it's nuts.
Yeah, that's my favorite way to visualize these kind of things, is when we're restricting and controlling, we have these tight palms and there's no energy flowing, there's no growth because we're just holding too tightly. But as soon as we open palms and we receive, there's so much more energy flowing, there's so much more love around us, and there's so much more love flowing between like me individually, and then the love that I'm able to give to friends and family and things like that, with open palms receiving, kind of just like you said.
It's funny. It's like we want to bring things into our life. So to kind of complement what you said, another way to look at it dimensionally is we try to put a funnel sometimes in what we're receiving because we're asking for something very specific. So the most we're ever going to get is what can be squeezed into that funnel. And that's like telling the universe, hey, I want this thing, but squeeze it into this little thing that my conscious mind thinks I need. If you just take the funnel away and it's wide open, there's this wide, it's an immeasurable amount of things that can come to us. So if you take the funnel off, you're just receiving. You receive so much more abundance.
Well,
and
sometimes
it's literally
we don't even know what we need if we have that focal
we don't,
point.
because we're so
kinda
focused on that. It's exactly it.
Yeah, we miss a lot.
So it's like what we receive is something we couldn't even have conceived before, much less it made come into being on our own efforts.
Right.
So it's just crazy to get in that receptive mode all the time. And I liken it all to the new earth energy we're all living in now since 2013. It's like those old ways of living are gone. The old relational models, or the mundane ones I would call them, they're falling away in my mind. They don't fucking work for anybody hardly. But moving forward, there's like these things are being, they really don't, right? So, but what's in front of us?
Or they pretend like they are.
Yeah, they're settling and whatever.
Yeah.
But moving forward, like with relational concepts, especially like romantic ones or whatever, we don't know what they're going to be because they're different, because we're stepping into new energy with the age of Aquarius, and the rules don't apply for what the last age was. So we just got to let all that shit go and point forward, but just keep receiving, because every time we receive, it's something that is not from the old energy too.
Yes.
So that's another way of looking at it, is just with the old energy. I'll edit this down a little, don't worry.
Well,
No, I kind of like it.
All the slurring.
everybody's just conditioned by ways of, we're a Puritan-based society. We all have, those kind of guidelines to everything in our traditions, and it's just somebody's point of view, thought. It's another man's idea of way to live that we've all been conditioned to.
It is.
We should be able to do whatever we want.
Well, we really
used to be
can.
different
as
many
long
years
as you're
before
good
that,
in your purpose, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So here's this one thing you asked
so.
me too a minute ago. I wanted to. This is new to me just since last week. So the unconditional love thing is from the heart. From the heart space, it's not tiring because it's freeing. But at the same time, there's an exhaustion, like the compassion fatigue that Laura talked about before. Okay, so I've learned since then there's another unconditional compassionate love version 2.0. It's like the next level, and that is the fatigue and the tiring comes from we're using our own energy to unconditionally love somebody. So there's limits there. If we draw from source, God, it's infinite. The energy is infinite. So if we learn how to develop unconditional love, which is ascending to another vibrational point to even see it from a higher place, I guess, and tap into source more, then the love comes raining down and it ends up not being tiring. And there's a relief component more than a fatigue component, because there's an understanding, I think, that comes with it. This like, wow, this isn't so hard. And it comes with letting go also. Letting people do, it's okay, letting people do their process and understanding why they have their process is like the stuff we read this morning, right?
Yes. Okay, so that really got me thinking. I feel like so we talked about grounding, right? Well, the point of grounding or asking about grounding is because we're also ascending, so it's a simultaneous thing that we're doing right now. But as we're ascending, we start, if you think about it, we have all these physical pains in our body, but there's always a corresponding like spiritual energy part that goes along with that. They go hand in hand. So every physical knot, there's a corresponding mental knot, and that's where we get like aches and pains in our bodies. And depending on the experiences that
You're
we've
pointing at my back, yeah.
That's because I'm going into the back.
I got a spot, yeah.
So personally for me, I have a lot of pain in my upper back and in my shoulders, and I just learned recently that means that I might have a sense of unworthiness of love or lacking a little bit of self-love. So that's something that I'm working on. So as we're ascending, I think those body pains and things should lessen. We become a little bit lighter. As we're ascending, all these things should be those pains and things should be going away in a sense. And then maybe the compassion gets a little bit less draining on us as well.
Right.
Because it's not draining because it's hard for my heart to like want to be compassionate. That's easy. Like I'm a very loving, kind person, but the physical exhaustion does come along with it. But maybe as we ascend, the physical exhaustion of that, maybe that would lessen too.
I get it, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do get it, yeah, I'm understanding
I
it.
kind of rambled off a little bit there,
That's
but
all right.
the
That's how
point
it's
was
going.
that.
We're all learning as we go. It's a new day every day. It's
I
like,
never even thought that before.
I didn't know this
That
shit a
just
week
came
ago.
right
I know. So, way too many topics for one trip in one episode. We need to do another hike soon and pick it up from where we left off.
Yeah, talking about unconditional love leads to lots of other topics that are really interesting.
Like
so.
what? What's the next thing burning?
The next thing is maybe polyamorous type love styles, and not any form of judgment on any other style of love that some people might prefer. Monogamy is beautiful, poly is beautiful, but we're just opening up to new ways of thinking and new ways of life.
And a word that most people have never heard of when I share it with them, compersion.
Compersion.
Let's get into that next time.
Yes, and polyamory actually means group love. It's good. There's a lot of depths into that subject that we can touch on.
To be touched on and discovered.
Yes.